So, Saturday's the 80th anniversary of Midway. You guys want to watch that Midway movie?
Oh, what a...
Didn't we already? Oh, whoops.
I'm gonna pound my nuts flat with a wooden mallet instead.
This one's for Beirut. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scuttlebutt, the war movie review podcast. This week, we're headed to the Middle East to take a look at the 2008 animated film Waltz with Bashir, set during the 1982 Israeli invasion of Lebanon. As always, I'm joined by Mike A.
Yo.
Mike B.
Yep.
And Nate.
We're watching The Patriot next week, Mike. It did not.
Goodbye.
It did not hold up. Patriot. You get there.
Oh wait, did you watch it recently?
Huh?
Did you watch it again recently? You just said it did not hold up.
No. I told you if I didn't like Waltz with Bashir, we were watching Patriot next week. That is the deal.
Who's the announcer? Who's the announcer that's doing the intro? Let's get his name first.
Well,
Penis.
Well, now that we put, the cart in front of the horse, what do you guys think?
What's your name?
What?
Oh.
What's your
Brian,
name?
I haven't named myself in any of them. Have you not realized that? But you say it enough, so they'll figure it out.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So,
Bri, our announcer and introduction expert. So
what you go ahead, Brian. What did you think of it?
So I've always struggled with things that aren't film as far as movies. I hate anime. Don't get me wrong, I respect it if people like it and stuff, but I really have always stayed away from that. It's not because I think it's like cartoony or whatever, but like it's just not for me.
Nani?
So going into this, I really respect Mike's opinion, and I wanted to watch it, because he's talked about it a lot and stuff. And like within the first 5 minutes, I didn't even realize it was animated, and I really liked it. I really really liked it. Like it really struck a chord with me. It's just, and I'll get into it later on, but it's just a really good film that talks about one man's path finding out his own trauma. I don't know. I did watch it today. I ran out of time, so unfortunately my thoughts aren't as processed as I want them to be, but just the raw emotions of it, it was just very powerful. If there's anything that's art that I've watched in a while, it's this. It's a very art house film. It's definitely a war film at the same time, but it's just like every frame is a painting. It's just really well done. It's very well thought out. And again, it does an animated war film really well. I was really worried about it becoming The Liberator, which is a piece of trash, and it wasn't that at all.
very subtly put.
It was very cool, and I love there's so amazing transitions for like the span of time, like where they have the one Merkava. By the way, I love Merkavas, that fucking Israeli tank. I'd look it up to see if they're actually in this war, and they were. They came out in '79. So cool, really cool to see it in a film. But we have the one tank crew over the refugee camp, and they have the passive time by like it turns black, you see flares, and then it's day again. It was just really cool. You can do that with film, but you can get away with a lot more with animation and stuff. So it was really, really well shot, and I really enjoyed it. So, passing the talking pillow to Mike B, what do you think?
Yeah, so the animation thing, it's my own personal thing. I could not get over it. But like Brian said, it wasn't bad at all. Like it was actually pretty good. I really like the more the film went on, I wanted it to be real. Like I wanted it to like show actual like people, and like if it would have been real, it would have been a different thing, of course, because the artistic, part of like all the I'm not dogging on the artwork and the illustrations and the artists that were involved in doing that. It's just that I wanted it because the story was very strong to be like just real. I think it could be more relating to people or relative to people if it was actually people. Because for example, when he was sitting down talking to people, and it was kind of an interview situation, right? And even though it wasn't meant to be like that, they just started opening up and like whatever. And it's like I could see that in the animation, but it's like if it was an actual person, it would have been so much fucking better, in my opinion. It's again my opinion, because it was so fucking real. Like the writing was real, the spoken parts were very real, very deadpan, which is real when you're talking to combat vets. It's just matter of fact. It is what it is. Blah blah blah. It's not like this like overly dramatic. Oh yeah, it's just no. So I remember this, and then as they're narrating it, and then it's showing what happened. It, and then part of me goes, yeah, it should have been animated because in his mind, it was animated. It was not a real thing. It was nothing that happened. And so I get that. I get that metaphor, the overarching metaphor. And then with all the situations that happen, we'll get into that more. But like overall, I really fucking wish it would have been in real life, but it might not have been as good. And so that's where I'm kind of torn overall of the animation. And then, but the writing was good, and the voiceover was very good too. And the writing mixed with that was like, it was very believable. And it was very deadpan, like I said earlier, but like, that's what makes it believable. He's like, oh, was I with you on this? Well, you might have been, but like, yeah, I mean, we were down here in this area. Like, who knows? If you don't remember, how the fuck am I supposed to remember every detail and who I was with? Because I don't remember exactly who was with me on certain things, in theater. I don't remember that. And it's like, that's very real, you know?
That's one of the, just to interrupt you for a second, that was one of the biggest things that I love about it, is that it's not like, oh, let me tell you about my experiences in the war. It's like, it's fuzzy. Like it's all jumbled, messed in his mind.
Trying to put that puzzle together.
Right, yeah.
And it's really like, sometimes you're like, you're onto something, somebody's talking, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, that really didn't have anything to do with me. It's like, fuck, okay, so how do what's up with this recurring dream? It was overall, it was pretty interesting to see and like delve into the mind of somebody who's been in a really fucked up conflict. So, for the opening statement, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Nate.
Sorry, I was reading. I'm just joking with you, Mike A. It was fine. So, I just wanted you to see a rile out of you.
Dude, I was well. No, if you really didn't like it, I would respectfully listen to you, because I do like to hear other people's views on things. But I would also say that
I'm full of shit.
You're
it's
wrong.
Okay,
yeah,
okay, that's fine. I mean,
you're voted off the island.
right. Yeah. Now we vote you off.
Please.
I mean, it was very interesting. I was kind of I went in with kind of a biased. I went in this with a biased opinion because I was forced to watch this back in animation school, and I just hated it because it was like, I had to watch like clips of it in a amphitheater, like in a hall, and it was just like the worst clips of examples for this film. So I was kind of like, I don't want to watch this. This is like bringing back painful memories. But no, it's what everyone has said is I wholeheartedly agree with. I guess the one thing I could talk about that I know kind of really well is the animation style. This was in 2000. I think it was released in 2008, and it took 4 years to make. So they started production in 2004. It's a combination. A lot of people think it's rotoscoped. It's actually not. It's rotoscoping is when you draw over live footage and you do frame by frame animation. This was
it's not that.
Yeah, no, this is flash animation combined with 3D assets on top of it or below it, and then they draw over top of it. It's very, very interesting the way they kind of do it. And the great thing to kind of talk about, I think what Brian and Mike B both said, animation allows you to get shots and angles and do things you normally can't do within live film that makes it a very unique storytelling device, I guess.
Device.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, everyone has kind of said everything I was thinking about it. I mean, it is. I to kind of go off of what Mike B said, I would have loved to see this in live action. It's a very unique way of telling a story and the thing, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a hard time. I did have a hard time with it keeping my attention, and just because my attention span is slow. If there's no midway CG boom booms, like my brain goes but that's just me. I really liked it, although it almost made me turn it off within the 5 minutes of a dog being shot. Fuck you.
Yeah, that was
That
really
was
hard.
hard. That was hard. I was like, don't, fuck. So, but
Bad things happen in war.
I
Man.
know.
Human suffering is a lot easier for at least me to bear than animalistic suffering. So
I understand it.
yeah,
I think it's because with animals, they don't understand what's happening to them, whereas a human does. I think that's
Yeah.
like the one guy with the horse, and like,
Yeah, the
they were talking
horses,
about
yeah.
it, and like he was looking at this as like a
Yep.
long day trip, and then when he saw that it was in front of him, then he couldn't deal with it. Like and it's like what brings you into your trauma? Like what's the thing that breaks you? And that happens a lot. People are strong, and then they get put in these crazy situations because at the end of the day, like trauma is surreal. It's the surreal thing that you're experiencing that you don't know how to process, and that's what leaves a wound, in your psyche and stuff. And that's like PTSD and things. It's just like when you're watching crazy fucking shit happening, you don't know what to do, how to react, what to happen. It's a pretty horrible analogy, but it's true. There's a lot of people that went to the downtown Manhattan on 9/11 to see the towers on fire, and there was a bunch of people filming the towers burning, but there was one guy who was filming the reactions, and it's just incredible. It's people working about their day, and just they all have the same look of just like, what is going on, what is this? And like that's the look of real horror, of real trauma. Absorbing an event as it occurs, you have no reaction, you're just absorbing it. The reaction comes later.
well, when it comes to, talking about surreal and stuff like that. Uh, that's one of the things that I love about why they decided to animate this movie, because there's a lot of it's very surreal, and I don't think that would have worked in live action. I wouldn't have been able to take it seriously if they had these surreal moments in live action. But go ahead.
I disagree with that. I think
Really?
I think you could. The one shots that I was dying for live action was the whole like repeat of the flares and the getting out of the water and that whole thing. Like 100%, I think you could do this whole thing live action and still get that thing. It'd be
Yep.
hard to get the angles of the same thing because you're gonna have to rely on technology. But I don't think. Not that I'm saying that the animation doesn't have its own allure to the style and the take you get on watching it, but I think you could absolutely do it in live action and still get the same effect.
Agreed.
No, I will. Okay. We'll never know because
Right,
they're not
right,
gonna
right,
do a live
right.
action of this.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it really works for me. It is a graphic novel come to life, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of it's artistic. It's unique. With the story, it's not a traditional just war story. It's very unique
Right.
with what it's doing.
Yeah.
Like I say, artistic, and just the animation is insane. Like it's so good in my opinion. And and you can what's great about this. So the movie was written and directed by Ari Folman, who stars in it as himself. It's like a biographical film about himself. It's like documentary. It's like a documentary, but animated. And you can just tell that with everything put into this, from the writing, the directing, and even like the animators, that this is all very personal to them. Like they lived this. Like you can tell.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
It's very it's very deep.
Mhm.
It's very it's gritty, and it's like I was saying in the kind of opening statement is like, yeah, these guys are talking, and they're actually talking about an experience that they had that was fucked up, and they're doing it in a way that's realistic.
There Oh yeah, there were just so many great quotes from it too, and also to add to the good animation, it was great music. When I heard OMD playing, oh my god, that was awesome. I haven't heard them in 10 years, and two, I want to make a movie in the 80s because I forgot how amazing that music is, especially like 80 to 84. But my favorite quote from it is the terrible silence of death. When they shoot up that
Yeah.
Mercedes that shows up on the beach, and it's so
Yep,
true.
they just landed.
You know, and it's like, again, you can't put your finger on the eeriness of loss or death, but it has a smell, it has a taste, it has a feel, and it was so good. It's so refreshing. And again, somebody that's like, I hate anime, I will not watch anime. Like everything that's like that, I think it's like the Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's just trash. But this changes my opinion on that. It can be done really well with the right dedication and the right allotment of time, because that's crazy. It took 4 years to make. But I see definitely the quality of it.
I'll ignore the fact you just shit on Last Airbender, but that's fine.
Oh, do you like that?
Yes.
Well,
I'm not a
Nathan,
weeb, but I like
listen,
it.
Yes, you
hey,
are.
No, I'm not.
a broken clock is right twice a day. It's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. No,
Yes.
like
Oh.
just to kind of go something that I did take away that I thought there were two scenes that really stuck out, which I thought was funny because they're not very well, maybe one is, but the other one isn't. Is the red car where they're doing everything to try to hit it and they
Yep.
can't, or they just don't, and it just keeps going, causing more and more destruction as they try to take it out. That was very prolific to me. And then the other thing that I thought was really funny and also a very good detail was how the tank driver just runs over cars, hits the side of buildings, crumbles it up,
Yep.
backs it up into the other building.
I laughed so hard at
Like,
that.
yeah,
and there's so
like,
many vets to talk about that.
same,
Like,
yeah.
I was gonna bring that up, but like,
yeah.
yes,
Like,
exactly.
I went,
yes.
they
I
know
love how the vision port just goes like
yeah,
this.
and then goes,
Like,
and goes
sideways.
skunk,
Yeah.
yeah. Like it is 100% what I've heard from vets and what you see in combat, in footage on places there, and it's very, very. But that the fact that they put that in there, you're like, okay, someone's definitely experienced.
Well,
that
these guys
too.
were so inexperienced, at that point, and they were just like, "Oh, I guess we're in combat now." Like, oh, and yeah, that shit happens even with the U.S. military.
Yeah.
It happens all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
It doesn't matter how good your military is; it fucking happens, and they portray that like, yeah, he's like you said, run over cars and backs into a fucking building, just fucks up the entire front of it.
Just as
then,
he takes that corner, like he just destroys the whole.
Yeah,
edge
just
of the wall.
destroys the
Yeah.
corner. It's like Jesus, man. But like,
I knew
yeah,
a
it's
tank destroyer vet that they had a Hellcat that got really fucked up, and it had a really hard time taking left-hand turns. So finally, they like fucking drove into a house, and they had to take a left-hand turn to get out of the house. So they just left the tank. They got a new one. So like that shit happens,
Yeah.
more than people would expect, and it's fucking just hysterical.
But talking about like those experiences in this movie, they feel so real because even though it's animated, they feel so real in their detail because the filmmakers of this movie, like they were the soldiers in this movie. Like these guys
Yeah,
were
exactly.
actually in
Yep.
the IDF,
Yeah,
and they were in this war.
Yeah.
And you can tell
Yep.
that this, like I say, this movie is very personal to them. Like this is like this is about as close as you can get to like just filmmakers making their life, their experiences in the war.
No, that's exactly it. It's like that's why, like, my bitch and gripe is that this sort of thing is what I want to see, like, made with all these, like real things, because it's not bogus. I want it to be shown as it was experienced by people who were there, or people that have done research, blah blah blah. This was something that, like, overall, I think they really sold it short by making an animated version of this. And again, I get why they did it. I get that. And this is just my opinion. If they would have made this an actual, like film, not animated, it would have been a lot more expensive, first of all. And like, and I get that, but like what I'm saying is, like, you don't see films about war made by people who were there ever. You really don't. Like, and if you do, they're cringe because they get Hollywood influence. This didn't have that, right? And it was like the writing and the story was so good. It was just like, I wish they could, because at the end, obviously, spoiler alert, Jesus Christ, our whole fucking podcast is a spoiler alert. But like at the end, when they go into the real, like, because I one of the most impactful scenes for me was the main character at the end being on that bridge and seeing these people coming out.
Yeah,
in his face.
That shot of the women's heads that go, the back of the women that, yeah.
And if that was an actual, like, if that was real footage like they showed at the end, it would have been so much more impactful, I think. That's, again, my opinion.
Okay.
But it just, like, to see that look and to have him, who was a veteran of that conflict, be able to coach that actor and be like, this was my look. And, like, you know, this is what I was feeling at this point, and to get it right. I think that it's just an isolated example of, you know, the realistic thing, but, like, I just think that I love the story. I love the fucking writing. I love everything. I just wish this would have been a film. Yeah, I know you like the animation. I get that, but, like, it's just, it was so good that I think that it sold itself short.
Okay.
For just being an animated film.
It's a personal preference for you, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. Correct.
The other thing I was just gonna say is that the even though, like, you know, you could do that, and it doesn't take away the fact that that shot is pretty jaw-dropping in that sense of the way they go about it, and I think they did a fantastic job, and I think that's one of the benefits of animation. The other benefit of animation, I think, in the way I really think why they went with animated versus any kind of live action, would be to have full and utter control of the influence of the film, meaning that I think if I feel like if you go to a producer, especially in Hollywood, and you say, I have an art animation piece that I want to make, they go for it. But I feel like if you say, like, I have a live action interpretation of this thing, they go, okay, we want to make sure we go over this, and make sure you do this, and make sure you do this, we have ideas for this, because I think it's a medium that they understand, or they think they understand, versus animation, they're like, you do you, artist, we trust you. So I feel like with one of the reasons I think that they would want to, they push through animation, as well as it being cheaper, but also the fact that I think they have to kind of bounce off your point, Mike, is that they have full control to have their full influence onto the project, to get all those details right, and to do et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it works out extremely well for the film in general.
Yeah, it's not like it didn't work.
No,
at all.
I know
like,
that. I'm just kind of bouncing off of you.
It worked so well that it's like, it worked so well that I wanted to see this in real life. Like, that's the thing, is, like, it's like, fuck, this was really good. And, like, all the stories and everything, and, like, all the things leading up, and just, it was, and
if you could almost do shot for shot for the animation and let the animation be its own storyboard, you'd have a movie right there.
Well, and some of the animations didn't look like animations.
Yeah.
You know, like, some of them didn't. I was like, oh, they're actually going to real footage? Oh, wait, no. But I'm like, oh, it's still an animation once they zoom in or they cut the shot. And I'm like, oh, because that looked very real because it's from a distance.
It was cool how they conveyed certain movements of people and things with the animation. I really hadn't seen that before. Like, how they changed perspective and things. Because there's a few times where, like, a character will turn, and just the way they turn just looks like it's been filmed, like it has not been drawn. It was just very, very cool.
It was, from what I read, it was made into a 90-minute film out of live action, but, like, you know, probably without any, like, set pieces or anything, but for all the references of everything they wanted to do.
Like the characters' movements, like the close-ups,
and probably the composition as well, to a certain extent. And then they kind of did a reverse thing where they took it from live action to storyboards and animatics, and then they used that and then went forward with flash animation, classic animation, and little bits of 3D as well.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because that's kind of what you can pick up on that if you look closely. And there's a lot of things where I was like, that's natural body movement. Like, that's not an animation. Because, like, in a lot of the film, you can tell it's animation, right? They're just moving. It's kind of choppy and shit, whatever. But, like, there's somewhere I'm like, I forgot, you know, the whole, what's it called when they draw over?
Rotoscoping.
Rotoscoping? Okay. You could tell there was some of that. You could tell, like, with the close-ups of, like, the way that people moved and, like, they were walking away and just, like, walking in general, like, the very close-ups. You could tell there was some of that, and I'm like, well, that's kind of weird because it's animated, yes, but it looks more real than certain other parts of the film.
From what I read, it's actually, they didn't do any rotoscoping. They used it as references, but then they fully like, I think I know one of the shots that you might be talking about. It's like when the the van passes and that girl is walking down the road. And it's a very close up of the Galil and him,
Yeah.
and it almost looks like rotoscoping, but I thought it was rotoscoping, but there was stuff that
Just a reference.
it was. I think it's a drawn shot with some animation within it, but I think it's mainly pivoting on a either 3D object and or being depth perception manipulated within the face to make it look like it's moving. Because rotoscoping has a very unique look. When you draw it, it has almost looks like squiggly. Well, some aspects of rotoscoping have a lot of people do like they'll do sketches and drawings of every single frame, and you can sometimes see shifts in that, and it kind of looks like stuff's like kind of wiggling. I didn't see any of that, which is what was always throwing me off.
No, I didn't. I didn't see that either. So that's why I'm asking too. Is like, I'm praising it because it's like a lot of the animations looked very real, and if they didn't use rotoscoping, like that's really fucking good. That's probably why it took 4 years. But like,
with a budget of I think $2 million, I think it said
$2 million.
So yeah, $2
That's
million.
it?
Do you want?
Jesus.
I think I looked up how much it made. Let me find that.
Yeah, I know.
Won a ton of awards.
Ari Folman. This is the only movie he's ever done.
I think he's making something else. I saw a little article.
He is.
that.
Yeah, he's been trying to do other things, but this is the only like real thing he's ever done as a filmmaker.
Worldwide.
It's funny too because he references
it was
him being a filmmaker in the in it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, don't film me and my child, which was kind of a strange comment, by the way. But you can draw them, but not film.
Worldwide is it made $11 million.
Wow,
that's fucking $9 million profit. Jesus.
he could sit on that laurels for a while before he makes his next work.
But like, no, seriously, it's really good. And like, getting over my bitch about the animated part, like, yeah, what? So I've said a scene that's impactful. I think Nate has said scenes that were, or was it Brian?
One more impactful thing I thought was really funny. If you look at, I watched this on YouTube, and the most clicked to section of the movie was the porno scene where the officer keeps making him fast forward, and I was like, really?
That was so unexpected.
Jesus,
and very
yeah. That part's a little like comedic.
It's like, why am I watching 1980s German?
Why not like the woman who comes out of the water if you want to touch yourself, not the weird fast forward like yeah. Like it was weird.
I think it was
my big tool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of like moments that are real impactful for me, I love the scene where he's talking to the psychiatrist and she talks about the photographer. I like that a lot. I like the whole ending sequence in the orange, with the whole the massacre and all that stuff is just in that orange hue. I really like the stuff where he talks about, he talks about, like when he's at home and his girlfriend dumped him right before he deployed. And then, and then like you said, right when he was going to war, his ultimate fantasy was that he would be killed because it would be the ultimate fuck you to her. And I thought that was really interesting. But I don't know, like there's so many things in the movie that I love so much in terms of how they're done and the messages and stuff that, I like the whole thing, honestly.
One thing that stuck with me was the tanker's story when he talks about like you always feel safe in a tank. And I've been lucky enough to like have played with a lot of tanks in museums and stuff, and it's so true. When you're driving or you're in a tank, you feel like the fucking man. You're in a fucking, however many ton armored vehicle. You got like fucking guns out the galore. Like it's very manly, I'd say. And then it takes a Panzerfaust or something stupid and it's all on fire and it's over and you're vulnerable. You're outside. What the fuck? Like, it's just, it was very cool to see that. And I like this whole story arc too. Cause like, again, to touch on the whole, trauma is surreal thing. When things seem the most out of place, they seem the most in place. When things are like out of sorts, so crazily, you kind of find peace and calm into it. And like I saw that with his arc where he was in the ocean and he was just like just letting it wash over them and just being in this situation. He never would have thought that his tank would have burned up. He would have survived the ambush. He would find himself in the fucking Mediterranean like out of the blue. Like nobody starts off the day thinking that the things that are going to happen to them happen to them.
Right.
So it's just about letting the event wash over you and just become one with it. Like that's just true understanding. Kind of like it's not too good of a movie, but there's good parts of it, like in Lone Survivor, where like he finally realizes that like he's on his own and like this is happening, and it's like you can either get with the situation.
Calm.
Yeah, you find calm in the craziness. Again, like things are so out of whack that you find reasoning, you find understanding in that, and that's just very powerful to me because that's just again like what trauma is. Like you're in this so fucked up situation that if you can just find commonality with one thing, then you get it,
And to go off of that scene that you're talking about where they bail out of the tank and they get shot as they're running towards the beach, and then he hides behind that rock and he goes, yeah, I felt like my guys abandoned me. That was very relatable to me because like I had a lot of those same sentiments when I was deployed, and it's like, yeah, so that shit happens in every single fucking war, no matter where you are, what you're doing, all that shit. It's like you feel like you're left alone, and then it's kind of like the juxtaposition of like, well, he feels calm, and then he goes, well, I feel like I abandoned them. It's like, well, no. But like, yeah, but no, I get it. Like, it makes sense, and that's why I like it because it touches on a lot of really deep things. And yeah, these guys are Israelis. In 1982, doesn't fucking matter. It's like every single soldier in every single war goes through the same shit, right? You could talk to the fucking Lebanese and the Palestinians that were fighting against them; they would say the same shit. After all the brainwashing and like the hype is over, the war is over, they start to think, and it's like, oh shit, this guy just thought about it while he was there. Like, oh, my guys just fucking abandoned me, and oh, I abandoned them. And it's like, yeah, it's pretty profound.
When you really boil it down, at the end of the day, all of these guys' stories and every combat vet story of dealing with trauma is the weight of responsibility. I should have been in that tank and died with those men. Why wasn't I there? I let them down because I wanted to live, because I ran fast enough.
I could have done more.
I did a zigzag.
I could have done more.
Exactly.
Yep.
You can never be whole with these kinds of things. And I think it was really cool with Bashir too, because his trauma was basically pent up in the fact that you were a camp guard. You were associating yourself with not being a perpetrator, but helping this event occur, and that's what made you forget everything. That's what blotted this whole horrible series of events out, because you couldn't accept the responsibility that you had in a massacre, just like your parents survived one. So that's what it all comes down to, I think, with all these guys, and why they are just, burying these things. It's just a weight of responsibility.
Yeah. One part of the movie that's really, there's the basically what's the titular part of the film is when the guy picks up the machine gun and walks across the street with it.
Yeah, 240 or the mag, mag. Yeah.
And one part I thought this puts you, this really shows you like the part of the world where this stuff happens. And the reporter is talking about, when I'm moving down the street, there's bullets and stuff going everywhere. And he says, and then the buildings on the other side of the street, the soldiers are all taking cover in this trench. The buildings on the other side of the street are like apartment buildings, and the civilians are just sitting out on the terraces, like watching it, like it's a movie or something. It's just like, wow, that's do you know that's just like normal for them,
Right? Yeah, of course.
There's this great memoir called Black Edelweiss. It's about a German machine gunner who was in the 6th SS Nord Gebirgsjäger Division in Finland, and later in the Second World War, the Finns basically, joined the Allies, and they were fought against the Germans to push them out of the country. So it was the Lapland War, and they were, getting pushed out to Norway. Well, he's a really cool story in this chapter where they were along a river, and it was the border of Sweden and Finland, and they were going along this river, and the Finns attacked them. It was like 4 a.m, and so they set up the machine gun, and they're fighting with the Finns, and all of a sudden across the river, all these lights start popping up, and it's all these villagers that lived nearby, and they were watching the war. So as the sun was rising, like Finns were dying as they were attacking these SS guys. It was like a huge, crazy battle on one side of the river. And the other side of the river is like a bunch of people in pajamas watching. And he writes about this in the book, and he was like, it was fucking insane. Because like I could have turned the machine gun like this and killed half the town, And it's like they're just watching us. And so yeah, it's crazy how like people will do that in these certain
Right,
situations.
like it's risky, because obviously there's bullets fly, anything could just happen.
Mm-hmm.
But like they're so used to it that they're just well, they're shooting at each other. They're not going to shoot at us. Like, yeah, we could get hit by something, but probably not.
Exactly. It'd be my neighbor. You never expect that shit to happen to you.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
always somebody else.
Right.
Fucking crazy. But that's one of the things that's great about this movie. Honestly, it's just that it shows how just the such bizarre things that happen, in the war, like that. Like driving down and through a field and just shooting your machine gun for no reason.
Well, that part, I see. Here's the thing. I don't know the IDF's fucking protocol. A, you have a limited number of ammunition in a 113. B, it gives away your position. It makes everybody know that you're coming. C, that could also be a fucking the way it was remembered of just like going out. They might have shot a couple times at somebody or something.
Just cyclical the whole time. Yeah.
No, your gun's gonna overheat too. Like that's
Yeah,
fucking
fire that much,
not.
it's gonna get red.
Oh, really quick. Like people don't realize like these guys do because they were there, but like they don't realize or people don't realize how fucking fast gun barrels heat up. And when they heat up, guess what? The rifling starts flexing and it makes your weapon less accurate. And that's only after like 200 rounds, which is not that many rounds.
Yeah. So yeah, in reality, he probably was like maybe shooting a couple times, but the fact that like he doesn't even know what at, it's just the fact that you just shoot.
That's what I mean, like, and that's the way he probably remembered it is like we just sat there and shot the whole time because whatever, and
that's what you do in a war.
That's why
you
it's
shoot,
like
oh, we're over the border, we're in a country we're at war, so you shoot at things, doesn't matter what, just like that.
Right, like when they land on the beach in Beirut or around Beirut, and then they kill that fucking car.
2 years of training. And then all they know how
training.
Yep.
I love that shit. Mm-hmm. Yep, training, and it's when you get there, it's like fucking what do we do? And so he does it. But from a practical standpoint, that whole thing when they were in the 113 going through the countryside, he might have remembered it that way, but realistically, it's not how it's gonna go. Right, you don't want to burn your shit out, like.
Right, no, and I've thought about that too with this movie. There's a couple parts like that, like when they kill the boy with the RPG and the.
Yeah, that scene too was very weird because it was like.
I like how it was filmed. Because like they showed the bush.
Yeah, it was filmed
the
well
rounds instead of like a body absorbing the rounds.
Yeah, but like everyone unloads on him. It's like probably only one guy would have done it, or something.
A couple guys, yeah. It's like it makes sure the threat's down and then you're done. This whole like the whole rage kind of thing. Again, ammunition when you're out in the field, right? You don't have unlimited ammo. It's not Call of Duty where you can just go back to a resupply. You've got what's on you. I know, Bri. I know, but you don't have that, and like you're not just gonna sit there and fucking just rage fire, because if you start doing that, your NCO is gonna come over and smack you across the head and be like, "Stop fucking firing and wasting rounds. The threat's done. It's over." Like Jesus Christ. And so there were a couple things that were artistic liberty was taken, but like I get why they did that because that might have been in their minds what they wanted to do at that point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That might have been they might have wanted to just shoot constantly when they were in the 113, the AP, the Armored Personnel Carrier. Sorry, they might have just wanted to shoot constantly, but they probably didn't in real life, and so that's where it might bleed over into artistic liberty versus what actually happened. It's not egregious because most of the film was actually pretty decent. But yeah, just a couple things to point out.
Well, and going off that, the part where he shows the soldier grabs the machine gun and runs in the middle of the street and just shooting wildly everywhere.
You mean dancing?
He's dancing, basically. This was what the title of the film, Waltz with Bashir, because
Bashir, the Lebanese leader that
the posters
died
are up everywhere, but he says, and they depict it as going on for a while, but he says, in the narration, whether it was an eternity or a few seconds, I don't know.
Right. Well, exactly. And I think the way they portrayed it is realistically what I think probably might have happened. The guy took the fucking mag, Mag
58, yeah, all right.
Well, for our listeners though, the M240, the predecessor to the M240, and grabbed that fucker, ran out in the middle of the street to go across the road because he was pissed and he was sick of getting shot at, tripped and fell on the brass or the dunnage or whatever the fuck was there, and then just started shooting towards the apartments just to fucking make sure he could get across. Realistically, that's a real situation. Him sitting out in the middle of the road after guys are getting hit and just randomly, wildly firing and dancing, whatever. Artistic, again. It's like, and so that's fine, like, because they explained it and they said whether it was a couple seconds or an eternity, who knows. Yeah, that's fine, but like, that's the kind of shit that, like, in one guy's mind, like, that guy tripped and, he fell and then got up and started shooting, and he's being a dipshit for doing that in the first place. He might have just gotten in his head, oh, there's a poster of Bashir in the background. Oh, he's dancing. It's a dance with Bashir. And then, you know what I mean? Like, that's how shit, like, gets into your head. And, like, this guy's like, oh, I just fucked up and I just fell in the middle of the road where the guys are getting shot under, in cover, and I'm out in the middle of fucking here. So yeah, that's the kind of thing, like, it's fine. It illustrates the point. And I don't actually hate it that much in this film.
That's why I like a lot of that's why I think, in my opinion, a lot of moments like that work with the animation, because it is very surreal, and that's it feels
right
that way with the animation. But it is all animated and everything like that. However, all of the, after we're talking about all this, very profound philosophical stuff in the movie that's great, that I love, but other than that, like, with the animation and everything like that, the weapons and, like, the gear and the vehicles and stuff look all really well done. Like, it looks pretty accurate to me.
I love Galils.
Yeah,
so it was great to see a lot of Galils.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Some of the illustrations were kind of weird, like, scale-wise, but, like, that's fine. You can still tell they were Galils.
What was that sniper rifle, too? You should probably go to IMFDB.
I'm already on it.
I
got it.
Oh.
All right. Share
By
it.
the way, I have this, the helmets they were wearing.
Ooh,
Hey, there you go.
cool.
The M76 Orlight helmet.
Very interesting.
They
The Army's
they
very
had
interesting. The IDF is cool at this point.
They had something wrapped around, like, the base of it or something, like a cover.
Yeah, it was, so they
It was like
they did it with their fucking steel helmets too, like
yeah.
the M1 or whatever. I'm not gonna pull that down, but like they would put like a rubber inner tube band around there to hold the cover on, so it wouldn't.
You see
fall
that
off.
like in the 6 Day War and everything too, because when the Paris
yeah,
took over Jerusalem.
that's what I was saying. Like,
Yep.
well, so my Israeli M1.
Hey, Nate, is there a way to, like, zoom in so we can see the pictures bigger as we scroll through them?
I need to click on them. Yeah.
So Brian, check this out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Late War shrimp net with a. Yep, that's cool. Very similar to an
this
Indochina
is-
helmet too.
Yeah. It's
Love it.
yeah. That's what they did.
But there's in the 80s, there's nothing really else that looks like the Israeli military, because they're like very OD and they have a lot of their own stuff.
Well, they still are.
Well, I know, but just for the time, because everybody else was switching to like camouflages and stuff. So
Well, no, in
distinctive
82,
look.
like everybody was, most nations were still wearing a solid
yeah,
color.
Woodland was coming
in
out,
82.
but yeah.
Well,
White tag Woodland.
So, Nate, if you click the three
Yeah,
dots
yeah,
up in the
yeah.
upper right,
There we go.
Very cool.
I'll be back in a second.
I had to look up what the shortcut
Raj.
was because I'm a boomer.
Fucking young in here.
Fucking shut up, fetus.
Fuck yourself, boomer. Send me your AARP check so I could buy Militaria. You destroyed my economy.
Send me, I don't know, something.
No. Want me to clap too?
Nah, you're good.
I'm gonna do it anyway. Fuck you.
Fine. Thanks, assholes.
I am Spartacus.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay, so wanna
All right.
jump back into this with IMFDB.
Yep, we'll do
Yeah.
it. Yep.
I love Galils. They're so fucking cool.
Galils are fucking
And
amazing.
they have a can opener built into the bipod. So how could you not like a gun with a can opener? I mean,
I love it.
come on.
Just to throw out the wow, rude.
If you cut that off, I'm gonna be
I'm-
very
I-
pissed off.
Do I look like the man who would cut out a burp? I mean, come on.
60-40.
It's fucking
Anyway, so
all
the
right.
Galil.
So anyone who said that made it go to a grinding halt. if anyone wants to jump on, we go to IMFDB and normally go to every single movie and just go down and nerd about all the guns that we nerd about normally when we're not recording ourselves. So, yeah, you can click on the movie and follow us there. So, you guys are saying Galils. I know nothing of Galils other than they are the Israeli gun. And that's it.
It's like an AK and an AR fucked. And this is what the result was. Actually, some FALs are in there too.
FALs. I was gonna say it looks like more like an FALs thing.
They came out in '74, too late for Yom Kippur. Like just during as the war was happening, they were making them, which is I think the war they refer to.
What did they have before that then?
They used a lot of Uzis. They had a lot of FALs.
K98s.
Earlier they have K98s.
Oh yeah.
Earlier they have everything made before 1947.
MG34 is all stamped with.
Yeah, you see a lot
of
those.
Yep. So, and by '82 though they were a little bit more well equipped. So yeah, you got the Galils there.
And the one guy who steals the mag later on, it was funny how when they show him with the Galil and he's talking about how he doesn't like it, it's smaller in his hands. Yeah,
because he's used to a big gun. Yeah, that was a good way of showing it.
Well, that's how I felt going from a 240 to an M4 with the 203 on the bottom.
I love that image of the guy in the bathtub, by the way, with the cigar.
Oh, it's great.
It's awesome. Yeah, with his rifle.
It was cool to see the mansion, and I was like, why do they always have mansions in the Middle East?
Yeah,
it's like Saddam mansions and stuff. This is.
Yeah, see, there's a small one.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's what I was saying about the scale.
They did that on purpose. It's because you're supposed to.
Yeah, because the mag is bigger.
Could do that in live action.
Yep.
Yes, you could. It just cost.
That's a very fair point, Brian. That's a very fair point.
Yeah, so there's the last shot with Ari Folman.
Love the sky. Just the yellow.
I know. I love
orange.
that look. Yeah.
Again, it's like how you remember something. It's always like more vivid than how it actually occurred.
Yeah. Very.
It was more likely AKMs, but hey.
True. Isn't that an AKM or it's a Type 2 AK? The reference.
That right there is an AK-47.
Right, yeah.
Like the AKM
but
is.
You're saying the pictures,
stamped
the
receiver.
ones in the pictures or in the stuff.
Yeah.
You don't really ever see detailed shots of them. You just see silhouettes, so you can't really tell.
Yep.
Although I didn't notice the axe.
Yeah, there's no way to tell.
That one right
they
there
just
is
were like,
probably
AK-47, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Is that an iron?
And that.
Oh, it's a cross.
Yeah, it's a Balkenkreuz. Yeah. It's a Balkenkreuz. Yep. They're trying to make the Christian guys look like neo-Nazis.
Yeah.
Because blah blah. We don't have to get into that, but
it's a lot of history. But Lebanon was fucked because it was just so much infighting and everything. In Beirut, especially, it's like certain neighborhoods would be Catholic or Muslim, and this is very bad, or Palestinian.
Yep.
So apparently the rifle they use as an M21 sniper rifle.
So okay, go down. This is one of the things I wanted to bring up. No.
It looks like an M14 or Mini 14 with a curved mag and everything.
No, it looks like a fucking M2 carbine.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
That's what I was.
The gas system,
you know what I mean? Like
M14 though, but
this whole scene was fucked up. It really was.
I know. It was so hard to see the dogs getting killed, minus the Farby rifle.
It was honestly like it was like, well, okay, I get the whole point, but like. That's gonna be an M1, M2 carbine.
Yeah, I love the M21
because of the slant in the back. That's what makes me think that.
So and the stop for a second. So then, what type of rifle with optics would he have? IDF soldier. What would he have then?
Well, I think
for an M1 or M2 carbine, nothing.
Okay, no, what I'm saying. What type of sniper rifle would an IDF soldier in 1982
Okay,
have?
so go up.
I think
the
an
M21.
Yeah, it's just a characterized version of it.
Yeah. They got M14s from the United States.
Okay, so
at this point,
that part's right. It's just that the rifle is not correct. That's drawn in the movie.
The illustration is very wrong.
Okay.
I wonder if they used
they would have had the M21. The what?
The art scope, which is the Vietnam War scope.
At this point, they were getting better shit than that.
Yeah, well, I just wonder because 82 is an interesting time.
Well, it's funny because in this illustration, that looks like an M14 or an M21 rather, and then go down, Nate. That's not M21. That's just.
Yep,
pseudo.
It's not even a real weapon.
Pseudo.
It's not even a real.
Yeah.
It's like an M2 mixed with a fucking AK mixed with a fucking M14.
They did use a variation of the M14 as a sniper rifle that used the art scope early on. So, but they also had a bigger version of the scope. Oh, and an interesting stock.
Sure.
That had like a cheek rest.
Yeah, but not in here. So they fucked up on that. They shit the bed on that. That was another thing I was going to bring up. End of story.
1 out of 10.
Whatever.
Terrible movie. Didn't get it
Yeah,
right.
the Mag 58.
Go watch
the fucking
Midway.
Yeah, go watch Midway. Better accuracy in Midway. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what the Israeli one looked like. Pretty cool. To
Yeah,
stop
the
with it.
the Mag
Wow,
58.
Brian.
Yeah, that's
wow, Brian, ping my phone. Jesus.
No.
That's
The fucking
your
burp
fault.
is louder.
good.
Yeah, Mag 58s are hot.
But yeah, dude, the 240 or like what we know as a 240 is a Mag 58. It's just
240
got
with a Woodstock
aesthetic.
and no fucking rail kit.
Now,
Right.
is that,
I think the
Well,
the
still,
barrel
it's gonna
change is
handle-
different
it's gonna
too,
ha-
but
is that
What?
French?
I think the 240 has a different
That's Belgian.
FN.
Okay.
I think the 240 has a
FN
different
is
Thank
Belgian.
you. I
barrel quick release than the Mag 58.
No,
did.
it doesn't. I'm looking at this fucker right now. It's got the handle right underneath the carry
Well, I
handle
mean,
where you pull up on there and then
The Bravo
bam.
versus the 58 version. I believe so. I could be wrong, but I think
you're wrong.
Yeah.
I don't also know either, but like from what I'm looking at this picture of the Mag 58, it's the same thing where you fucking rotate the fucking, you pull that little trigger thing, you rotate it to the left, and then you fucking push it off. It looks exactly the same as on a 240.
it's crazy too about the Mag 58 because it's came out in late 50s and it's been used everywhere. Vietnam.
It's a fucking awesome
Oh yeah.
fucking weapon, dude. I mean,
Besides the 50 cal,
dude.
it's probably one of the only like long-lasting service light machine guns, and there's no reason to replace them.
Wrong.
the MG3
Wrong.
or MG42.
And for people that don't know,
Wrong.
by the way, Mike carried a 240 in Iraq, so he
The
knows
Mads-
what he's talking about.
No, I actually did. Not in Iraq. No. Nope.
Oh, I thought you carried in Iraq.
Nope. Carried it when I got back.
Oh, fuck me.
Before I
Fort
went
Carson,
to
then.
Iraq. Yeah. Well, not Fort Carson. Fort Living Room. But no, but I'm very familiar with the 240 Bravo. Because I carried it for a long time. But like, what the hell were you gonna say, Nate?
I was gonna say you're wrong. The Madsen LMG is the longest style of light machine gun. Still in
patrolling
service
favelas in Brazil. Is
Brazil.
a little bit different than the best belt action made in the last century.
But anyway, no, the Mag 58, it's really fucking heavy. Honest to God, the gripes I have is it's really heavy. It's not good to carry it as a fucking infantryman. It's not good. The M60 was a lot more comfortable. Even the fucking MG42 or the MG3 is more comfortable. However, when you're shooting the Mag 58, that thing is fucking awesome. It's so accurate, reliable, and the feel of it is like there's not a lot of, I mean, there is recoil, but like it's not that much. You can control it very easily. At distances up to 1,000 fucking meters, you can fucking engage targets accurately with that thing.
Is that the way the system is designed, where it's not having like for example, like the struggle I have with like MG34s and MG42s is that there's so much mass moving in the back, like within the internal system, and make it have a lot of recoil because it's all that weight moving back and forth. Is it the same?
I've never shot either one of those, so I don't know how to
Well,
compare.
have you shot?
Not really, Nate.
No.
It's not like a multi-sectional bolt. It's
Okay.
It's really well done. And again, it was built off of the 42s and all the World War II light machine guns.
Right. No, it looks like it has the
off
same.
history.
It has the same internal mechanism kind of design to it. Because I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything
copied
kind of.
copied the 34s and the 42s after World War II.
Yeah, but they simplified it and they made it more streamlined and whatever. And like,
Well, it's like an M60 is like an FG42 melded with a fucking MG42.
FG42.
Yeah, FG and an MG. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
But that is.
Now the Browning, the M2, yes, that's been exported. That's one of the most exported fucking small arms.
It's almost 100 years old
That's-
now, I think.
Yeah,
1921.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's over 100 years old. Yeah,
I love that image of
And-
him on it.
The Ma Deuce. Yep.
dude,
Pew,
that
pew,
fucking
pew, pew,
gun.
pew.
I've shot a lot of guns, haven't been infantry, right? That motherfucker. I've shot a Mark 19, right? That thing scared me because I thought it was gonna blow up. It's like not good. This fucking gun, when I shot that thing, gave me a fucking semi-chub, at least.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
I'm not shooting. The M2 is a fucking dude. The power, when you feel the power that you have behind that thing, and you hit targets at like a half a mile away, yeah, your dick gets a little bit hard, a little bit.
I remember the documentary.
It's just
I remember in the documentary, Restrepo. That's what one of the soldiers talks about.
Yeah.
He talks about how like
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
He says that is the sexiest gun I've ever fired ever. Or I think those were
And
his
it's
words.
slow
It
rate of
is-
fire. It's just when you hear it in original
Dude,
footage and stuff, it's
It's
just
so
cool.
fucking like the NM2. Yeah, that's fine, but like you can't as an infantryman as one guy, you cannot handle it on the NM2 fire rate. It just doesn't work.
With
That
with
thing, though-
plunging fire, is that at all like able to do that?
I'm not sure, to be
What?
honest.
Could
50 cal and plunging fire?
yeah,
That's
could,
more of a
yeah, could the
of a
M2
smaller...
do plunging fire, or is it more like that's like a Hail Mary full of grace kind of option for that?
I've never really heard of it done.
I never was trained for
Okay.
that, so I
There's
don't know.
no optical sight they ever made for a 50
Yeah.
cal to do that. Because the arc too, you have to think of the round.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can easily turn a 30-06 or something into a, you know, like a
Well,
parabola, whatever it's called. But it's
yeah, I don't know like what you're plunging fire. Yeah, I'll have to research that.
indirect fire, like from a Lafette. That's what he's trying to say.
Oh well, it depends on how far you are.
But even just general practice.
just
don't worry about
general, yeah,
range.
just a general.
I've never heard of
yeah.
it. I've always
No,
heard
we-
it as
we
like
were
a
never-
frontline.
We never trained that.
direct.
I do know
contact.
though that like so when I qualified on this fucking thing in Texas in 2009, I you know put the belt in blah blah and like I'm on the range, I'm on the fucking gun, it's cocked, it's ready to go. I got my assistant gunner and I asked the range safety, I said, how many rounds or how many targets do I need to hit to get expert? He goes 9. I said, okay. And so I shot 5 or it was between 5 and 7 rounds, right? I don't remember a burst, but I angled it just perfectly so that it went through the first set of targets. It skipped the fucking rounds, went up and skipped. They hit the second target, like barrage, or not barrage, but like a line, and then it hit like rocks or something. Must have hit the next one, and he just is looking through binoculars. He goes, all right, well, you got your fucking 9 targets. Go ahead and fire. And so I was just doing like bursts. He goes, no, just fucking fire the gun. Like burn up your ammo. And so I was just sitting there going, you know, it was fun as shit. And I remember the rounds just going for fucking ever. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like we're shooting at mountains, of course. And like these fucking things, they were just level. So that's what you're saying. Plunging fire is like shooting up and like kind of doing a
Yeah.
mortar.
Yeah. So it's talking like long range. Like
I believe it's
You'd have to be
your
really
max
fucking far
extended.
away.
It's
You're-
over an
yeah.
angle of 30 degrees is what plunging fire is. It's at a
Okay,
certain
yeah,
maximum.
you'd have to be really fucking far away to do that with an M2.
Yeah,
you
just the
really would.
range.
Because like I was just saying is like we were shooting our range was like 3 or 4 miles long, and these rounds would start dropping at about 2.5.
And think of it, Nate, too. I mean, the tripod on a 50 cal is pretty shallow to the ground.
It
It's not
is.
like a 1917.
I was
or a
thinking more
Vickers.
like mounted on a vehicle, like on a half track or something, like in terms of like World War II, because you do see some examples of that. Maybe
Yeah,
it
you
could.
blow a house away or sniper
Right,
out of a tree.
it's
I
probably
mean.
like a Hail Mary thing. Look at me blowing off ammo, making it look like I'm hitting something. But I mean, I've seen it in some of the things. And I was curious because I know the term might be just the term I've just read.
No,
in the
using the
German
correct
manuals,
term.
But yeah.
Plunging fire, indirect fire. Plunging fire is the old school term,
Okay.
but like World War One.
So for this one, I'll just clarify for our listeners after I went on that rant. I'm sorry. The way they were using these is direct fire, and it's very effective, especially in an urban environment. It's going to cut down buildings.
And so, and it is realistic that the IDF would have been using these.
Yes.
100%,
Oh, fuck yeah.
Like,
Fuck yes.
In the shot of the
Yep.
one of the Merkava, which I love the Merkava. Fucking like it's controlled from the inside of the tank, and it's right over the barrel, so the gunner can use his gun sight.
Yep.
So that it's the same way with the gun sight or the 50 cal. So the Israelis use
Yep.
tons of 50s. I'm not sure if they still
Well,
use
the
them. They
IDF
probably
started
do.
using them when we started sending them shit in the 60s.
Yeah,
Right?
like all the
And
half
so-
tracks that they had on them and shit. Tons.
Right,
of half
exactly.
tracks.
And the M2 is probably the most widely used heavy machine gun
In the West, for sure.
besides the Dishka, but like, you know, in the Western world, if you want to talk about it like that. It's probably the most widely used heavy machine gun.
And
sure.
just to paint a picture,
And-
it's like if anyone can't picture it off the top of their head, it's the 30 cal's big brother. That's pretty much the best way
With
to
spade
describe
grips.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the bolt carrier, like the whole block, that's a similar, but you also don't have to headspace and time a 30 caliber. And so the 50 cal or the M2, I'm sorry, we call it 50 cal all the time. The M2, you have to headspace that motherfucker every time you are going out to use it, and you have to time it, which is timing is very fun because you can fuck with that. And if you get really good with that, you can get that thing to fire as fast as a fucking 240 Bravo and still not fry the fucking gun, right? It's
like,
not recommended, but you can do it.
It's like you screw the barrel all the way and then you take it back 7 clicks or something. Forget.
Nope. You see, for head spacing,
Yeah.
you put the barrel in all the way, you back it up 2 clicks, and you start the head
You
spacing.
do have to
Okay,
do that.
so
You
then-
do have to
yeah.
do that
Bam.
with the 30 cal, but not
Not as much as
Not-
a 50.
not as much as a
50s are
50, yeah.
very particular.
Oh, dude, if you because you have the gauges. I actually have a set of gauges.
Yeah, a lot of
I don't
guys
know
carry them on
why.
it. I know, like, fucking Barcelona used to carry the no-go gauges on his dog tags.
Right.
And a good gunner will
well,
do
yeah,
that.
he's a machine gunner.
Yeah.
And anyway, we'll move on from that. But the M72 Law.
It's such a
yep.
cool image of the tank. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cool thing about the
The
Merkava
M2 is a beautiful weapon.
is it was designed
beautiful weapon.
to keep the crew alive as much as possible in a tank battle because they basically realized in Israel, like, the crew is more important than the tank. We can get more tanks, but we can't get enough crew. And that's opposite
Right.
of the 1980s American idea where the tank is more important than you. And the fire control system will kill the crew, but it'll save the Abrams. So it's funny how different countries have certain different things, but they're really cool. The engines are in the front and everything. And there's a second version.
the
that just
law
came out.
in this illustration,
Mhm.
the law in this illustration is really not good.
It's a bit big.
Yeah. It's like been extended in his.
It's also very square.
It's like the modern ones are a bit longer, I think. The ones you see in Afghanistan.
RPG-7.
yeah. Yeah, RPG 7. Yep.
Love the and it was cool that one reporter guy talking about RPGs. It's like they make the whoosh.
the hiss whoosh, and you don't hear the explosion.
Yeah.
The RPGs
the
are like,
rocket. Yeah. Yep.
and they hit, they go,
Yep.
like that weird sound that nobody ever gets fucking right in movies or
Oh yeah.
series or whatever.
You mean not like in a giant bottle rocket, which is what Hollywood always makes it sound like?
It's the whistle.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
On a fucking string.
Yeah, yeah.
Shoo.
But for
Yeah.
being an animated film and for being as stylized as it is, like pretty good job on a lot of the weapons and.
Oh, yeah.
and-
Yep.
Minus the sniper rifle, they did an amazing job on really everything, and I keep, saying it, but I'm blown away by an animated film getting all this right. It's not Airbender. Fuck you, Nathan.
I didn't say I loved it. I think it's a cool thing. But yeah, I hear you.
You can cry yourself to sleep.
Don't make fun of my childhood.
It also so to get into like a more deep and kind of like depressing kind of fucking topic, it really does kind of encapsulate and display what post-traumatic stress, and I don't call it a disorder. I dropped the D a while back, so I don't think it's a disorder. I think it's just post-traumatic stress. I think it encapsulates what post-traumatic stress is a lot of times is guys just cannot remember because it's your mind just goes, let's compartmentalize that and just it's gone. It's gone. And like you don't have to fucking deal with that. Some people do that.
It's a coping
Others-
mechanism, I mean.
Yeah, and it's like some guys can just talk about it. Some guys are gonna go, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Bam.
Yeah. Well, that's
Others are
what
gonna be like, yeah, well here's what I remember.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Well, that's what the tank soldier, when they talks about his story, that's what he says at the end of that. He said, I stopped talking to the families of the people who died because I just didn't want to think about it anymore. I just didn't want to
Right.
even think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's fucked up. And so this actually tackled like how post-traumatic stress affects different people in different ways. It really did. It's like, yeah, because this guy's trying to figure out what I'm trying to remember. And these other guys are like, yeah, I remember this, this, and this, and this. And then, yeah.
It's a funny reference to bring up, but in one of the latter seasons of Better Call Saul, when things start to go crazy, Saul sees this.
By the way, don't spoil it for me. I haven't watched.
That's fine. Saul sees
past
this
season
crazy event. Oh, it gets really good.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, Brian.
Yeah, he sees this crazy event and he like really can't deal with it, and it kind of really fucks with him. And he talks to Mike about it, and Mike is a Vietnam vet, and he basically is like, when is this gonna stop? And Mike just has this really cool like talk with him and basically says, you're gonna wake up one day and it's not gonna be there. You don't know when that's gonna be, but you're gonna wake up every day and it's gonna be there, and you're gonna deal with it, and you're gonna fight with it until it's not. And that's just a really good way of, I think, talking about PTSD or PTS and trauma in general, because it's going to fuck you over until it doesn't. And you don't know when that is. That could be a month, that could be 10 years, that could be never. But
right, I've had to explain other ways too. I've had to explain other ways too, from Korean vets, World War II vets, Vietnam, you name it. They have told me, they're like, it never goes away. You're always going to think about it. It never goes away. It does get better if you choose to like accept and kind of whatever. But they're like, it doesn't ever go away. And so there's a dichotomy to that. Some people, like, one day they wake up and they're just like, oh, I'm good. But I think for most people, dealing with that kind of shit, like in this film, is, well, and the thing is, like, Ari is just starting this journey, because he's gonna like reinvigorate this fucking fire that's in his mind, and like at the end of the film, it kind of like alludes to that, like he's remembering this shit now. Oh, he remembers seeing the looks on the people, even though he wasn't involved in the massacre directly, but like, it's like, and that's even okay. Let's just branch off really quick with that. People who were not directly involved but somehow feel responsible, in my experience from talking to people, have a lot harder time dealing with that, because they feel culpable and they feel like, again, like we were talking about earlier, I could have done something more. I could have done something to just not let this happen, and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people that were involved in these, not just this massacre, but like any massacre, they're like, I was just doing what I was told. And so that's how I deal with it, And with this, it's like, you realize, yeah, he was just launching flares out of a mortar. Okay. Normal fucking routine, even though he knew something was going on. But then in hindsight, he goes, oh, I was lighting the fucking light to allow this to happen. Well, you and several other guys, blah, blah, blah. And then he sees the aftermath, and that fucks with him more than having been a part of that massacre directly, And so that was what I really did like about this film, is like, it really shows like, yeah, he wasn't directly part of it, but like it fucks with him so bad that his mind has literally shut down a part of its memory so he can function.
It's like Blythe in the episode of Band of Brothers, I think Carentan, where
tread lightly here, but yes.
Yeah, like when he shoots the German and he goes up to him and he sees the results of shooting him. I mean, most of the time it's like bang, he drops, bang, he dropped. You keep going on, but seeing the dirty work that you caused, you definitely has a lot more lingering trauma than just pulling the trigger and going on to the next town. So yeah, I agree with you. It just dropping mortars into a mortar is like, okay, what the hell? But then seeing the result of what you helped,
not only the result of it, but it wasn't, and I don't think that was even like the worst part. It was the women coming up to him afterwards, which is what really did it for him. And enough to where he inserts at the end the actual footage of them. It's pretty
great transition too to that. Totally caught off guard,
Yeah, during the animation they were using the actual audio of it,
Yeah,
It's just insane. But
Yeah, and then you see the actual bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and you know
and
what's
the girl
what's,
too, you see. That,
right,
you know,
exactly. And what's really fucked up is like in modern day society, a lot of people are just there on Reddit and 4chan, and they're numb to all this shit until you see it in real life, and that's what I think they were trying to get across. This was also fucking 14 years ago, right? But when you see it in real life, it's like, oh, this isn't a video game. This isn't on the internet. This isn't. I'm watching something on Live Leak. I'm like there. You smell it too. That's the thing, and it's like the final footage that was shown in the film. It was a massacre. It was fucking ridiculous, and that's what happens in wars, and that's what happens in invasions and disagreements and all that shit. That's what happens. Like, it's so fucked up, but like people nowadays are so fucking numb to that shit unless they see and smell it. Like literally smell it. Like that's a big thing I'll harp on. They smell it in real life. They don't know, and they're just like, oh, whatever.
the
Not
sweet
happening
smell
to me.
of death, that you'll never forget.
Definitely not sweet, but like, yeah, it's not happening to me, and that's very typical, and that's fine. But like, yeah, whatever.
Well, that's why I think that it's so, talking about how this film is animated and all that. The fact that it switches over to that live action, stock footage at the end is it hammers home that point.
Correct.
That it's real.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah, correct. And that's why, like, I'm bitching about the animation, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Personal preference. But, like, I think that, yeah, it was good because it did transition into the actual stock footage.
to show that it was real.
And then the sounds and the people crying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, well, that's what you get in a war.
Yep. And then it just ends.
Yep.
Yeah, I was surprised when it
over.
ended because I was like, oh, but it was great how it did, And it's such
Yep.
a diverse subject, not to get too embroiled in it, but Israel and what they've done in the Middle East, and there's a million different ways you could have gone with it, especially having Israeli vets talk about their country fighting somewhere else. But it just does it so well, hauntingly, and it paints such a very traumatic period and a very little known bit of history in the West very well. Because like besides hearing about like the Beirut bombings, not a lot of people know about Beirut in the 80s. At least in the States. So.
Well, that's another thing too. Is like a lot of people like they want to paint Israel as the victim constantly, and like, oh, they were just doing this to prevent an attack. Well, sounds familiar, right? Us going into Iraq, whatever, and it's like, no, that whole invasion was fucking retarded. It was dumb. It was fucking stupid. Okay, there was no point in there except for politicians. And that's fine. Like in Israel, there are politicians just like there are in the US. It's like that was so stupid. It was such a waste of life for everybody. And it's like, I'm glad that this story was told, especially on film. You know what I mean? Like, because it was such a fucking waste of life. And what came of that? Oh, Lebanon's not going to attack Israel? Oh, okay. Well, you've got Egypt and Syria and fucking whatever.
Israel is still bombing camps in fucking Syria and Lebanon.
Right. Israel's not. They're not
Beirut
innocent.
just blew
They're
itself
just like,
up with fertilizer 3 years ago.
They're just like us. That's the problem. Is like Israel's government is just like us. They're like, oh, I always got to fucking quote unquote attack before we're attacked. And it's like, well, if you stop doing that, maybe people would stop fucking hating you so much. And it might be controversial to say that, but like that's the way I opinionize these things. Like, how about we just fucking go about our business? If somebody legitimately attacks us, sure. But this preemptive, oh, we had to do this to prevent this conflict. Well, no, you started a conflict, and you started probably more conflicts down the road. And again, the U.S. does this all the fucking time. And that's what pisses me off.
Exactly. Have any of you seen the movie Munich?
Yes.
The Steven Spielberg movie? That's a really good movie that brings up these questions that we're talking about with with this stuff, because that movie is about striking vengeance on people.
The Olympics?
The
Oh, yeah.
Olympic. It's about the commandos who are hired to go
73,
assassinate these people. Yeah.
Too.
But in doing so, they just realize that they kill these people and then others pop up. And it's like eventually they start to realize why are we even doing this? It becomes really interesting. I really like the movie Munich a lot.
That's kind of in a similar way, like Zero Dark 30. You know, I like that movie for a lot of different reasons, but it just goes to show, like, you know, you're trying to chase one dragon while all these other things are happening. It's like at one point they're just like, nobody cares about Bin Laden. It's been 7 years, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just so true, you know, because you're always fighting multiple threats, and like you can't focus on one fucking thing all the time. But
well, that's kind of like, you know, with Dance of Bashir is like, why did they go to Lebanon? Oh, Palestinian terrorists. They use the word because that was way after the Munich Olympics, and that's in the 70s is when the terrorist term started coming up, right?
hijackings and everything, yeah.
Yeah. And GSG 9, GIGN,
The Red
fucking
Army
SAS.
faction. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, counterterrorism units. It's like, but okay, like Michael was just saying, it's like, who are we going to strike back against? The country? Okay, yeah, okay, that's fine. You got Palestinians living in Lebanon. All right, let's go fucking invade the fucking country and piss them off. And so they're going to forever hate you.
Yeah, and then they're
Because of
gonna
what happened.
they're going to do the same fucking thing that you're doing.
Right, it's like us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got attacked
It's
at
been 40
9/11.
years since Beirut,
Right.
and here we are.
Okay, we go and we try to get Bin Laden that we think fucking did this, even though the Saudis did that. But like, and then we go to Iraq. You know, it's like we do the same shit. It's like, what is this for?
Yeah.
And so that's what this film illustrates very well. I'm not getting off on a political tangent. Like it's not that. I'm like, it's all relative because it's like the Israeli invasion of Lebanon. I don't understand it from a practical
They were
standpoint.
there for a long time. I think till 85.
Yes. Yeah.
Or later.
And that created a lot of fucking bad blood, literally and figuratively, between those two people that, you know, the groups of people that live right there. And it's like, well, what was the point of that? Like, what did you accomplish?
Yep.
Did you accomplish something? Oh, you did. Oh, you strengthened relations with the Lebanese people? Oh, no, you didn't. You fucked that up. So you didn't accomplish jack shit. You made it worse. And so that's kind of my whole point is like, in this film, it actually illustrates that very well. And it's like, yeah, we went there and then these guys that we didn't really know, we weren't with, but they were there, massacred these fucking people. And we just sat by and watched and let it happen.
Yeah, the guy says, he gets on the radio at one point and says what's going on, and the guy on the other line says, okay, thank you for telling me that, and hangs up the phone.
Yeah. Like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Who
What do you want
fucking
me to do
cares?
about it? Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's like, that's the kind of shit. Like, what is the point? And it's so relevant. Like, that's why I like, again, my bitching about it being animated is just because I thought this story was so good that I wish it would have been live action. It wasn't, whatever. Who gives a fuck? But like, it just shows how stupid fucking the politics are in the world. And they have been for quite some time. And you get these 18, 19, 20-year-old guys that are going over to do your bidding. And you're like, I don't fucking know. I just want to survive. You get into combat. You're like, shit. And then shit happens. It's like, well, yeah. So I love that part about it. Like, it illustrated like how it actually is.
Yes.
So.
No, I like I say, it's so unique. I've never seen a war movie, and like animation aside, like I've never seen a war movie that's, you know, told like this. You know, it's like half documentary, half narrative. It's fucking crazy.
There's not a
Nate,
lot of
what do you
things
think?
you could watch 90 minutes that you get this much out of.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
Nate, you've been pretty quiet. What's up?
It's not Midway, so you know we can't hold a candle to that.
This one's for Pearl.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I don't know much about the history, so for me to kind of talk about the world at that time, I don't really know enough to comment. And I've been just thinking about how much Mike A is going to hate watching the Patriot next week. So there's that.
Look, dude, I'll watch the Patriot.
That's gonna be a great
Patriot
episode.
Yeah.
I'm
We've
expecting.
chosen the episode before we chose.
I'm
it,
expecting. I'm expecting to be like normal. Mike A is like 0.03.
No,
So,
Mike
I've got-
Gaddis grabs
I've
a
got-
bunch of lead soldiers from a drawer and starts melting them like into balls.
yeah.
No.
What's up?
He
man?
needs bullet molds though. He doesn't have that because he's a fucking.
Well, you have his
he's a
M1,
fucking
so if he
clown.
had his M1, he'd be halfway there.
Yeah, give me back
Oh,
my
shit.
M1.
Oh fuck! I don't even want to open that case up. I don't want to see how rusted that thing is.
3
It's been in
months
the case.
later.
It's been safe, but
Okay.
like I actually haven't opened that fucker up and like looked at it.
Okay.
I locked it up. in
Anyway.
March.
Anyway, no, the Patriot. I've got a friend who is really savvy on Rev War shit. He does Rev War. He's very good on that period of time. Let's not do that until I've got explicitly like his confirmation that he'll watch it and come onto the podcast for that. He's our age. His code name on my streams has been Fat Monk. So he's
Now he can be called Fat
I-
Mel Gibson. Honorable title.
No, I know this guy personally. Like we did World War One together, and he's got a great World War One impression.
That'd be cool
Yeah.
because I that's the thing is I don't know shit from. That's one reason why I think I enjoy it. It's because I don't know shit from Shingo for what's correct in that.
To be honest,
Yeah.
same
yeah.
here.
That's all you know about it? Yeah.
Yeah,
That
like
movie.
like
Yeah,
it
and-
like
and-
like I don't know
yeah.
what's wrong, so that doesn't crawl under my skin. But if you made me watch
Well,
Wind
I know that
Talkers, I'm
the
like,
British are. Yeah, exactly. Like the British, I know are portrayed very fucking poorly and inaccurately. Like the mean blah blah. That's just gonna be fine with the British Empire and their very orderly way of doing things. No, not gonna.
Yeah,
happen. But
they're like the
You're just mad
SS
because they
in
put
that
ink in
movie.
your tea.
right.
Yeah. They're like the
What?
fucking. What'd you say, Brian?
ink in your
He's
tea.
just mad because they put ink in his tea.
That's such a stupid thing. Fucking,
Well, we
it's
can
bad
bitch about
'cause-
it next week or at some point in June.
Yeah. Well, get
Well,
get
at some
your-
point.
Well, what- I mean,
to do.
So okay, let's do the final.
Yeah.
Let's do the. Let's just do the final review on Waltz with Bashir,
Okay.
and then we can start ranting and fucking talking about next week's.
Master and Commander
Endeavor.
or Waterloo. If we're going old,
shut
let's
the
go
fuck
old.
up.
Oh Jesus Christ! Let's not. Dude,
He
Master
just-
Commander is so fucking
He
long.
just launched
So
it.
good.
He just launched it, and then you just fucking steamrolled it. He launched into a great segue, and you're just like, "How about next week?" And he's like, "God damn it!"
Yeah.
So what
All
Mike
right,
would've done.
penis, peni. How about that?
Well, speaking of
Okay.
that, Nate,
No,
Give us your
no, fuck
opinion.
you. No, Mike A, go.
No, you want me?
Yeah.
Okay. I say this is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. I love this movie.
Biased opinion.
I
Was
love it.
was sagst du? Was sagst du?
We got to even this
10 out
out.
of 10.
1 out of 10. Boom. There we go.
Oh,
no, I'm
wow.
joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
No,
Oh.
no. So explain a little bit, Mike, why
Okay.
you're.
I just like I
10 out of 10.
said, it's unique. It is artistic. It is impactful. It is gritty. It is unapologetic. It's incredibly personal. Like I say, this movie was made by war veterans, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's not just most people who are not used to making movies, when they try to make a movie, it is absolute shit. But in this case, these guys were. They obviously studied film and stuff like that, and it's amazing. I love all of the topics that are brought up in it, and how they're discussed. Like I say, it's so unique. I've never seen a war movie ever that's done like this. So, in my opinion, in my view, it hits them all perfectly. I love it.
So you're
Nate,
you're
you-
giving it perfect 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. I love this movie. Yeah.
Right.
Nate, you're next.
I mean, I do resonate with what Mike A said, about everything he said. I think, having that influence of actual veterans who were there and the details you can give with that is really something you cannot, you cannot, look at that and go, wow, that's not, really good detail and really good plot design, all that kind of stuff to push the story along, because that's what makes you be there. I kind of ranted earlier about the animation and all that stuff, and I think it's very impressive considering it's 2004. Adobe Flash is still, and that should date that movie right there for anyone who's nerd like me about this stuff. Is that it was made with Adobe Flash. Adobe Flash has been gone, I think, for 4 years now. Completely obsolete. So it's very, very interesting considering I also fucking hated working in Flash, and it was the demon above demon in animation school, and I hated that thing with a passion. So more power to them to actually make a whole feature film in that horrible program. But I think it has fantastic composition, fantastic color, design, the whole 9 yards. However, I got nothing to say that makes it a negative other than it just that my attention just couldn't hold on to some of the lulls, and that's just me. I mean, I'm gonna give it 8 out of 10 Screaming Mel Gibsons, not because for any particular reason. They were just little things that just, I think, more and more just for plot and the way it was done in a documentary like style. It just didn't hold my attention, but that's nothing against the film as a whole. It's just me. It's just my own personal opinion on that. So I'd say I give it an 8 out of 10. I'd give it a 9, but just I think an 8 sounds good. So 8 Screaming Mel Gibsons. Boom. Drop mic.
Bri.
Mute.
Yeah, we can't hear.
You're
we
muted.
can't hear
You're
you.
muted.
Fucking A. So I went into this with an open mind, just, again, expecting whatever it's going to be. I knew that Mike liked it, and it was animation, whatever. And like as I watched it, I just got more engrossed, and it's definitely a film I look forward to watching to in the future. I've already probably watched the dream sequence about 70 times. And I watched it like 3 hours ago. It's just very, very, very well done. And I started out with a 7, and then as I watched it, it got higher and higher, and I'm going to end up with like a 9.5 because it just, I don't know, it really speaks to me on a level of trauma, on a level of just, coping with things. And to sum it up, it's a haunting tale of a man coming to terms with his own past, and dealing with his own deeds. And it's just, there's not many things that could have been done better. And I really think that because it's an animated film, it makes it easier to grasp instead of it was role play or live action or any of that bullshit. Like, it's just so well done, and it's a real piece of art, and I think I'm better for watching it. So.
All right. Yeah, again, me bitching about the animation, whatever. If I'm going for the actual screenplay, the way it was presented, the writing, and the overall message and all that shit, it's pretty good. Like you said, it tackles trauma pretty well, right? And post-traumatic stress and like not being able to remember shit, but like he wants to remember it. He wants to try to remember it just to figure out what the fuck happened for his own sake and for everybody else's. That's really something that no other film that I've seen has tackled. And that was really, really a good thing. Like Nate said, though, a lot of times my attention was like, and it's not necessarily that, it was boring or whatever. It's just like, okay, we're on from this subject. Now we're on to this one. Okay, well, and I had to pause a couple times, just to kind of go, okay, we're doing this now, whatever. It's fine. Not that big of a deal. Because again, that's a personal thing. The way that people portray their thoughts and their recollections of the events, very real, like I said. Very real. It's just deadpan of like, yeah, here's what I remember happening, blah, blah, blah. Were you there with me? I don't know. Or, yeah, you were there. You had to have been there. Very realistic. And also, I like that it's a subject that nobody in the West really knows about. I didn't know about this until this was brought up. And so that's a very interesting thing. And yeah, anyway, I'll stop rambling. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. 1 point's docked for just, I wish it was live action because it was so good. That's the problem. Like, I wish it was so good that I wish it was live action. But again, I know it might have taken some things away. Other things, it's just kind of like some of the artistic liberties were odd. They didn't detract from the film. Like somebody watching this that doesn't know about this shit, like it didn't detract. But like for myself personally, so I'll give it. Well, okay, I'll up that to an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay. So high marks from everyone.
It actually
the
might
average
be
is
the highest.
8.9.
Yeah.
9. So it's definitely one of the higher rated movies we've ever
Yeah,
watched.
definitely. Yeah,
you
it
know.
was pretty damn good.
I think
Yep.
it might
Yeah.
even be the highest if I remember.
Somebody will do the math eventually.
I'll do the math. I'll go back.
But no, it just if you want to watch a really cool movie, if you're open-minded enough to watch an animated war film, which you should be, because be an artist, enjoy everything.
Yep.
Every
Yeah.
medium.
Yep.
You really enjoy it. It's a really amazingly done piece about a very little known subject in the West. Maybe not a movie to watch like on a Saturday night. We're like, fuck yeah, it's a Saturday, I'm gonna get drunk. But definitely something to watch that's introspective, and you will gain from it. Like it's
Agreed.
great. It's really well done. It's either gonna make you talk about it, it's gonna make you think about it, or you're gonna take something away from it. But it's definitely an amazing piece. And I was gonna say this earlier, but it reminds me a lot of Flags of Our Fathers. It's this search for something, for meaning, in the abyss. And that's what we're all doing. We're all searching for something. So it's just fucking watch this movie. It's just great. So
Yep. Yeah.
nice.
Yep. Agreed.
Well, join us next week as we do Patriot or fucking something. I don't know at this point. We'll figure it out. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating. Otherwise, Mel Gibson won't stop screaming. If you like this content, make sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. If you want to directly support our work, make sure to check out our Patreon. All these links are in the description below. Until the next time, Scuttlebutt out.